The worst bomb I can remember having is at one corporate show where I was performing for 2,500 people. I mean, it's just huge screens behind you everywhere. And the thing about corporate setups, they don't really care about the comedy setup or the musicians. I mean, musicians may be a bit respected, but for the comedy, you need a lot of things for things to go right. But corporates don't usually do that. So I remember the alcohol was supposed to be served at 7 p.m. And since 4, they were just waiting for alcohol. It was an end of year party. And then the last thing, they set up the comedy to be just before the serving of alcohol. And that's the worst thing you can do because they're just waiting for alcohol. So we went up. I was the first guy. Went up. 2 minutes into my set, they started clapping me off. 2,500 people clapping you off stage. And there's no green room to go back to. You have to walk to the table you're seated in the midst of 2,500 people. You're like, can't even show your face. So that stuck with me.
I think I've had a couple. Had a couple. I remember my first time performing in front of a live audience because I told you I used to do open mics, and I absolutely forgot my jokes. Like I remembered the first 2 jokes, but after that I froze. So I think that was the worst because I was just trying to do crowd work now. So I was trying to engage with the crowd, which is not really my strong suit. So I ended up just asking a lot of questions and not doing jokes. And from that, it showed me that you really need to digest your material. You really need to understand your jokes. So when you go on stage, you actually know what you're gonna say and how you're going.
So there was this corporate gig we were doing. So there are these 2 big banks which were merging, and they decided they're going to call people from all over their branches. Yeah. So we went there, and it was like 2,000 people. So they were told it would be comedians. We were expecting, I think, Niaje, Kina Butita. And so we showed up instead. Yikes. It was so embarrassing. We got clapped off stage. I think for the next 4 months of my life, I kept thinking that there's someone from that place who is looking at me every time I would walk in town. And then, hey, I think if we went through that, bombing in front of 2,000 people, the chances are if you're in town, one of them is seeing you somewhere. It's like... So it was... And then there are people who I knew from school before who had told all their friends that I'm really funny. We were so confused. And then, because we were at race course. And then because there were so many people, Uber was not working. So we had to stay there. And people look at us the whole time. You're just talking and you can feel people just pointing at you the whole time in our unfunniness. Because Nyashinsky came to perform after us. So you can imagine how bad that was. Yeah, and I was like, if I went on with comedy after that, then I don't want to test the world at it can't get any worse than that. I hope it can't get any worse than that.
Yeah, it was around 10 years ago. I was there with a godfather of mine, James Moore. We went on the road there, and the crowd was not. They were drunk. They were just. And you learn something that then you realize there's some people who came to see the show. It was a mostly free show, but there were 2 people that came to see the show, and the rest of the people were talking. So I chose 2 people to perform to, the ones who were paying attention. It was like this table here, it's 2 people, and then there was another person on the side. And from then on, it's changed my perspective. Every now and then, regardless of whoever is trying to ruin the show, I perform to the people who came to see the show. And it's changed how I do it because it means I can perform even in front of one person, and I know I'll give them a good show regardless.
I don't look like a comic because from my personality, I'm usually a quiet guy. So it's like that lack of belief is what kills me most of the time. Because even my mother who raised me still doesn't believe that I can do this. So those are really tough responses.
Here, I don't like when people ask, do you make a living from comedy? I'm like, bro, we are 3 of us on this border. What do you think?
Actually, I don't think there's anyone that tops tell us a joke, I swear. Tell us a joke is the most annoying question I have. Because you're telling me to do my job because you feel like it. Do you meet a doctor and be like, hey, you're a surgeon, eh? Can you split me up real quick? split me up, open me up. Even that's extreme. Let's go to therapists. You meet a therapist, and be like, oh, you're a therapist. So I've been having a lot of. Do you start pouring your heart out to a therapist when you meet them? No, you have to. You know what I mean? So like that one is so annoying because you're trying to get me to work for free outside. Then
It's when people want to tell me a joke so that I can confirm it's funny for them. And you can break someone's heart, like so he's like, it's funny. Yeah. So I think that's the worst, where people think now you're now an arbiter of what's funny and what's not funny with regard to jokes. And now, because humor is very subjective, I'm not the one who's going to kill your dream. I'll let the world do that. It's colder. Yes.
The most memorable. I think there are these types of what would I call them? When your joke really connects with the crowd. Because I remember I was doing this joke and it was so good that I didn't have to like say the punchline. Like the crowd actually finished the joke for me. So it was really good. Yeah, really reassuring.
Definitely meeting people who I respect, not only in comedy, but in different entertainment in the industry. I've met Nameless and Wahoo, I've met a couple of other people. So yeah. Also, performing at different venues has also been a high. And just anyone who comes up to me and tells me after a show, I really loved your jokes, that is all I can ask for.
man, my high. The biggest show I ever did was called the Winnipeg Comedy Festival, CBC in Canada. And I did the Best of Fest Gala, which was an amazing show. But the biggest high for me was the showcase leading up to that show. Like when I was told, hey, come and showcase, the scouts for that show are here. They want to see who to pick from this city. And I did so good. The validation, that was the first real validation I got when somebody came and said, hey, you have something there, kid. Let me give me your email address. I think I want you for the show. You're exactly what we're looking for. That was amazing, man. It was the best feeling I've ever had doing this thing. One of the best feelings. I'm sure there's so many, but this one was right there.
Well, I think it's when people who I respect acknowledged what I do. Random DMs from, should I say names? Yeah, I guess. I remember like BN from Sauti Soul inboxed me, and then he came to watch the show. It's like, yeah, this guy, bro, like even we had a meal with him later. This one time Churchill inboxed, was like, yo, you're the future. That's like pressure, because it's like, what if I'm just like the president, I'm like a gift. When people who do comedy or do other art acknowledge your, like, yeah, you're going somewhere.